Loss mitigation departments. This is a subject that I've seen tear companies apart. The last business I worked for, and then a couple prior, loss mitigation departments will tear your business apart. And the reason is uh, you take advice from attorneys who are trying to keep your liabilities at a minimum. So you're looking at employees that maybe are causing problems, and you say, okay, that person's a liability. We need to figure out how to deal with this person. But as soon as you label one person as a liability, the whole workforce feels it, and they say, okay, they're not really supporting us when something happens, so we're going to retract and we're going to do things. We're going to do as little as possible, because if we do something wrong, then they're going to point the finger at us. We're going to get fired. We're going to get disciplined. And so, and this is a common problem in just relationships in general. This website is about building relationships. And if you look at your relationship that you have in your business or your personal life as a liability, then it will create a liability. You will divide the entire workforce and create these social groups. And this is why I've got these groups of people all separated. They're all talking amongst themselves and they're not interacting with each other because they see everybody else as a liability. It's like Susie or Bob over there, are causing problems in this business, and so lines of communication break down and everybody sees each other as a liability, and then everyone becomes a liability because as soon as you see someone as a liability, that's you're kind of creating that for yourself. And so you really have to prop each other up. Now that's really hard to deal with when you come into like large problems. Let's say you've got somebody that's never following the rules, they're never following safety regulations, and maybe they're getting hurt all the time. So how do you deal with that? Well, the best way to deal with that is the same way that I've shown in all these other videos, where you've got, control comes from the outside and you're supporting from the inside. So you always want to offer support in a leadership position and let teams take care of those issues themselves. If you have somebody, and you have to empower teams to make sure that they know they have the ability to do that. So let's say you've got a big accident or a group of people maybe got hurt. The worst thing you can do is try and figure out whose fault it is and point the finger. You need to let the people that were in the accident and involved with each other make a decision as if somebody needs to be disciplined or not. And if they think that somebody needs to be disciplined, let them decide what that is. If you as a leader or a supervisor come in and start questioning everybody and do your own investigation, you're never going to get the facts straight, and you're always going to get a lot of defensive behavior that points fingers in directions that aren't necessarily in the right direction. This is the hardest thing to deal with in any business, especially bigger businesses, because accidents are going to happen. People, all of us are human, but you have to let our own social structures and the people around us who want to support us and lift us up really make decisions on what is best for us. Let the family decide how they need to be treated. Treat somebody, and if they need discipline, let them decide what disciplines those are. And in that way, you're still creating growth and you're still creating a supportive atmosphere. There isn't, if you treat people like a liability, that will cause more money and disruptions in your business than any one single lawsuit could. If you're afraid of somebody suing you because you're afraid, oh, the company might be liable, so we have to make sure that this person looks like they're at blame. That's not the case. You will cost yourself more money in lack of production and the dismantling of relationships by making everyone feel like they are a potential liability. This is the one thing that you have to get away from more than anything. You need to make sure that people understand that everyone is an asset, and we are going to support those assets in their own personal growth and empower them to make the best decisions possible. And so, if you have to follow state and federal requirements, safety regulations, but you want to do it in a way that you give those regulations to those people and then you support them. And if there's a problem, let them deal with it inside those groups. Say, hey, if somebody needs to move from one job to another, say, hey, I don't know so-and-so personally. Ask them. Say, what would you recommend? What kind of job do you think that they would be more suited to? You can't, as long as you don't try to control, then and just support, then you're going to get the best outcome possible. And this happens in every form of business in every single way. You provide a little bit of structure and then let them create what they need inside that structure. And you don't want to be too overbearing with the structure. Just do, in my business, as I grow it, it's going to be, these are the limitations that we have. You guys create your own system that works best for you in order to complete these tasks. Because if I'm not doing them directly, if I try to control that, then all I'm going to do is create resentment, and I'm going to limit your potential, right? You want to create, everyone likes to be productive. I think this is one of the biggest misunderstandings in groups. You see people become lazy, and then they think, well, they're just lazy and they don't want to work. But the reality is they want to do as little as possible, because they know that if they do too much, or if they do it in the wrong way, there's people that want to control that atmosphere that aren't going to be in agreement, and then they're just going to get punished. And I've seen this over and over and over and over again. It doesn't matter what business you're in. The bigger they get, the more that it runs down this path, because people can hide behind roles in certain positions and have a controlling mentality, and instead of understanding that their main job and function is to serve the people that are working for them. And like in the last video, in my other video about the direction of how groups should elect their supervisors, teams need to be electing their supervisors to create a more humble environment and a more listening environment. So that if you don't listen to the people that are working underneath you, you're going to get replaced by them, right? And it forces that. If you don't do that, then it turns meetings into a situation where people are telling people what they want to hear, because they know that the person running the meeting is in charge of their job. If the people that are working underneath you are in charge of your job, now that those meetings turn into listening sessions, because the person that's running the meeting knows that everybody there that's listening there is in charge of their job. So they need to make sure that here's what we got, tell me how you guys want to do it. And it turns it into a much more productive atmosphere. And the same thing goes with loss mitigation departments. Don't let your attorneys, through lack of understanding, tear your company apart, because they will. They will cause disruptions, social cliques, and a lot of resentment and a lack of production. So I hope this video is helpful. If you have any requests for ideas on how to create a business that really works well and functions better on that aspect, then I'm always available. This is A Fool's Insight. Thanks for watching.